Okay. So our first story of the day is you always hear about these directors that turn down these franchises every now and then. So Steven Spielberg, I mean, the GOAT, as far as I'm concerned, um, basically came out and said that um, he turned down Harry Potter. And so I'm really so the story goes that he actually turned down Harry Potter, and he said that, it was gonna be a big sacrifice, and he actually, um basically, he says this: "The personal meaning about how the conflict between art and family will tear you in half is what happened to me later after I established myself as a filmmaker, as a working director. Kate Capshaw, of course, and I started raising a family. We started having children. The choice I had to make was taking a job that would move me into another country for 4 or 5 months where I wouldn't get to see my family every day. That was a ripping kind of experience. There were several films I chose not to make," he continued. "I turned down the first Harry Potter to basically spend the next year and a half with my family, my young kids growing up. So I sacrificed a great franchise, which today, looking back, I'm very happy to have done and to have been with my family." So, of course, Christopher Columbus ended up directing the first one, and ended up making oodles and oodles of money. Um, how what did you think about that? And I guess my question is, do you think Christopher Columbus was the right person to actually direct it?
I think Columbus was a perfect choice. I think that both Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets are perfect films, and honestly, it's funny when you hear about this because I honestly don't know how this movie could have been any better than it was. It checks out that Steven Spielberg would be someone that they would have talked to, especially given that when, Spielberg had started out in the industry, he started making movies like E.T. and he was making a lot more family friendly fare like Hook and all this. And then all of a sudden, he started to go into more adult content. And if you look at his early 2000s, whether it's Minority Report, whether it is um, AI, whether it is the incredible Munich, even War of the Worlds, he was going into a deeper, darker space. So it's interesting to me that they might have picked him at this time because this was, I think, this was less a kid friendly Spielberg. Like the movies he was making around the time Harry Potter was coming out are not the films that I think you would assume someone like that would make a Harry Potter movie. Now, I think what's also interesting is I was listening to a YouTube show and they were talking about how Robin Williams was originally going to play he wanted to play the character of Hagrid, but J.K. Rowling did not want any non-British actors playing these roles. So they ended up casting Robbie Coltrane, the late great Robbie Coltrane, to play Hagrid. And it's funny because like if Steven Spielberg was directing this film, maybe Robin Williams would have played Hagrid. Maybe we would have had more American actors involved. And then the big thing though that's funny to me that wouldn't have been a difference is John Williams would have done the score for this movie regardless. And I think that's kind of fun. Um, but I think it was a wise move because it allowed for, as Spielberg says, he had to he was able to spend time with his family, but then he was also able to go on to other projects. It makes you wonder if he did direct it, how long he would have stayed on for the series because Christopher Columbus only stayed on for 2 movies, and then we had Alfonso Cuarón come in for Prisoner of Azkaban, and then you start to see a change in directors with almost every movie until you get to Order of the Phoenix, and it's the same director, David Yates. But It's a really interesting what if, but I honestly I don't see really, um, what would have, because I mean, of course, he's a great director, but it's like I can't even imagine those movies being better than they are.
Yeah, no, I can't. That kind of that kind of I don't think anybody knew what this was going to do. And so, I mean, and the fact is, and by the way, people forget that, Spielberg, one of his greatest movies he did with Robert Williams was Hook.
Yes.
And so, I really, that Julia Roberts and, but I mean, the point is that I don't think that Spielberg being attached to this, if he had done this, I think there would have been more expectation for the second movie. Because as you were saying before, he was doing films like Minority Report and, all these other ones. And, look, this is what the business is. This was purely a business decision, and I'm really glad he chose what he chose. You know, um, I can't be more happy for him. Um, and the thing is, I don't think he has any regrets about it, and that's the biggest thing. He has zero regrets because if it comes down to a job or your family, you can always go get another job, especially when you're a Spielberg that is at the top of his game and has been in the top of his game for 40 years. Um, I just it's one of those things where, and I think the expectation for the second film would have been even larger because you are getting a big name director. So I think when you get a Christopher Columbus, it's like okay, you know, and I think it was done well. I think it was done well. And I mean, I can't believe it's been, you know, 22 years. That makes me feel really old. But it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I liked it. It's one of and we, by the way, guys, if you want to go back and watch it, it's one of our top 5 we did our personal top 5 film franchises. I don't think either one of us put Harry Potter in there. I could be wrong, but like yeah, this is a huge, huge, huge franchise. And of course, many other movies have been made and many games. As a matter of fact, that new Hogwarts game is the new rage, for all the gamers to play on YouTube. But it's like, yeah, this movie was just magic. I think it was going to be magic regardless of who you got to direct because the story was so good. So, yeah, I'm happy he took the job. I'm happy he basically passed on the job, and I'm happy that he spent time with his family. What do you guys think? Do you think Spielberg made the right decision? Do you think he should have actually directed the first Harry Potter? Go put your thoughts down in the comments. I'm dying to hear what you guys have to say.